So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the Tories have absolutely cooked the economy. I know there's some guy who does a lot of videos on this. Apparently, every other few weeks, he'll talk about how the Tories are lying to you about inflation and the economy's completely tanked. I mean, the economy's cooked, but we're not going to see growth until around 2025, which is nuts, considering that Q1 there will have to be an election at the latest. So if you look at kind of Jeremy Hunt confronted on this kind of stuff, the levels of spin here are phenomenal.
The ONS call it a very flat and subdued economy. It's not good enough, is it? You've delivered a stagnant economy for the British people.
The audio here is not great, I'm not going to lie. So she cites the ONS and Jeremy Hunt goes to cite the OBR forecast.
Well, a year ago, the Office for Budget Responsibility said that they were expecting the economy to shrink in the first part of this year by more than 1%. In fact, it's grown. And the British economy has shown itself to be much more resilient than many
but has
people...
it grown? It's flat.
Well, it's grown in the first 3 quarters of this year, and it was...
Has it grown? Having kind of one quarter of growth, it is good, but it's not, if it's not sustained, it's more an anomaly, and that's what we're seeing here. I did find these graphs quite interesting from Joey Politano talking about the growth figures since the pandemic, and he says here's the country's cumulative growth increase in real GDP since just before the pandemic, and you can see the UK is kind of in the middle of the pack here. The only issue when you look at GDP growth is because the UK had fallen so much here, we're in this kind of Tory blue colour down here. When you look at cumulative growth, it does give the appearance that the UK is actually doing okay, but the problem is the UK fell the furthest. So when you talk about growth on quarter, statistics like this are, I think, kind of misleading. I'm no economist, I'm no statistician, but when you talk about the UK's growth since the pandemic, of course it's been high. We fell off the most. Like when you look here at Italy being, having higher growth than us, the Italian economy, I don't think it's been that great for a while. Us doing better than France would be incredibly, incredibly surprising. Germany are facing a lot of economic problems, and I think Japan's just a basket case economy. Although I do love you, Japan. Don't be mean to me. But this is from the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey. So I know I scroll a lot. I need to stop doing that. Let's have a listen to what he's got to say about Brexit and the impact of the economy.
Take no position on Brexit.
I mean, he's a Brexiteer. He backed Brexit, so the argument he takes no position on Brexit is kind of stupid.
Say that was a decision rightly for the people of the UK. It has led to a reduction in the openness of the UK economy. Though over time, new trading relationships around the world should, and I expect will, be established.
I mean, we are establishing them. They're complete garbage. The Australia deal, New Zealand deal, garbage. The CPTPP, garbage. So we're doing garbage deals with countries that it's not going to add much to GDP. It might even lessen it.
But to do that, of course, requires a commitment to openness and free trade. So to sum up this part of the story, we've moved from a state of affairs where the orthodoxy was to open up the world economy, to increase trade flows, and increase the flows of finance to support this trade.
Well, that's not happened. And given that EU are, I think, still trying to bring finances, kind of clearing houses and other things into the EU, although it's not working, that stuff's going to New York instead. It's still going to have a massive drag on the UK's economy if that stuff does move, regardless if it goes to the EU or not. Last week the Bank of England said the UK was likely to see zero growth until 2025, although it's expected to avoid a recession. And the government try and act as if avoiding a recession is some sort of glorious achievement when it's the bare minimum you expect. And so when Jeremy Hunt's like, well, the OBR and every other group predicted the economy would shrink, and celebrating that, it's like, yeah, okay, we didn't go through worst case scenario, but it's not good. We won't see growth until 2025, until after the election, guaranteed. This is just madness, absolute madness. But Jeremy Hunt, he's got this one sorted. What's he going to do? Looking at tougher sanctions on people on the benefit system. So people who are on unemployment, which you don't get a lot of money for being on unemployment, you don't get a lot of help, and you do have to prove you are looking for work a lot, like you are logged on everything, trust me, I know. And also people on disabilities or people less able to work, whether that's physical or mental, and then the government saying, well, we can get them to work from home and other things. So is the government going to stump up the cash to accommodate, make accommodations for this stuff? Because once again, the Tory party have gone back to being the nasty party of the deserving poor versus, the scroungers, that kind of rhetoric, which we've seen from the Tory party historically. We saw that, I think, under Cameron, and we've seen that with the workhouse mentality that they have had. So we have seen this for a long time here. We go to Prem Sikka government saying that unemployed will lose free NHS prescriptions if they refuse to work. Okay, so if you're ill, you're going to get more ill. So if you're on unemployment because you're long-term sick, for example, you might lose your prescriptions. That's great. Thanks, Jeremy Hunt, for that. Not only did you tank the NHS when you were health secretary, you're also going to tank people's medications. Great stuff. Sick notes approved by the benefit system, not doctors. So not only are the people who have been beefing with doctors for a while over whether they're fit to work or not, the doctors are going to get overruled. People with actual medical qualifications are going to get overruled by people with no medical qualifications. So next time Jeremy Hunt or any Tory MP is ill, they shouldn't go to a doctor or a medical professional. They should go to the benefits office and ask them, am I fit to go back to work? This quote here from the Labour Pension Secretary was the government is not going far enough. Apparently that's quite misleading. That's a misleading statement. I think it was community noted on a different article. So we'll move on that. Someone mentioning it, the article doesn't quote Labour or contextualise Hunt's plans to cut CUT benefits are deplorable. So, I think they kind of misquoted Liz Kendall. Liz Kendall's someone I don't like, but, we try and be as fair as possible on this channel. But don't worry, guys, David Cameron's coming back. Austerity man. We had Austerity boy in Rory Stewart. Austerity man who was very much mired in the Greensill scandal. If you haven't read about it, you should read about it. And there was a lot of interesting stuff here about the fiscal drag, which is something we'll discuss in a moment. I think Ridge goes into it quite a bit here. But point being is, if you don't raise taxes in line with inflation, it's you are in effect increasing taxes on people. And the fact is the government have been doing stealth taxes for the last couple of years now, especially as inflation has gone up dramatically. And so we are effectively paying more in tax. And despite the fact that the government are saying they're cutting national insurance contributions, I think that will push you more into paying more income tax. So they're going to say, oh, we've cut national insurance. But in reality, what they have done is risen income taxes.
These autumn statements. Now, Jeremy Hunt stood up in the House of Commons today and announced what he described as the biggest tax cut in British history. But what if I told you that actually you'll be paying more tax next year, and the year after that, and the year after that? And it's because of a sleight of hand that will end up raising enough cash to fund the entire police service and then some. Now, when I told my team that I was thinking about speaking to you this evening about the fiscal drag, I'll be honest, there was a bit of concern about the viewing figures.
I would not phrase it as the fiscal drag. I would raise it as stealth taxes. I think you'll get a lot more viewership that way, and I think people will understand it a lot better if you, instead of describing it as the fiscal drag, which sounds boring as hell, describe it as stealth taxes, because that's what these are, stealth taxes.
But this is actually really important. The fiscal drag basically means the number of people who are dragged into paying a high rate of tax without the government actually increasing the nominal tax rate. So in other words, it's a stealth tax. By freezing the tax thresholds that the government's done every year, more people will end up paying more tax. So the fiscal drag will raise, get this, £12.4 billion next year, and then it goes up fast, really fast, rising to £44.6 billion in 5 years' time. £44 billion. We really are through the looking glass now. To put it,
and this is a Conservative government that says it wants to cut taxes, but instead they are actually de facto increasing taxes by using these kind of methods.
In context, right now the entire budget for the Department for Transport is £28 billion. So by 2028 to 29, the fiscal drag will be funding multiple government departments. I mean, they're not going to put that on the side of a bus. And I'm not sure if it's just me, but are we really okay with this much of our public spending being funded by a tax rise that no one's really talking about?
No one actually consented this. The parliamentary system is so broken. I think if you spoke to people about it, would you say that, are you okay with, that's an awkward pause, are you okay with paying more taxes like this? I don't think people would agree with it. We are paying the highest tax burden since World War II, and it's just going up. It just keeps going up. So this is just getting silly at this point, and it's just working people and lower middle class people that will be paying these sorts of taxes. But don't worry though, if you're on capital gains, you're not going to be paying much more really. But Jeremy Hunt blames people who are unable to work or are long-term unemployed. Okay, Jeremy. Jeremy Hunt being confronted on the figure that the Tories have wasted £100 billion since the election, 2019 election. Got nothing. Just blames people on welfare. Sucks. They were going to cut inheritance tax, but they dropped it because the optics just look really bad. Sunak's got another set of 5 promises. Yay! I know someone asked me about this, so we'll talk about this during the live stream, which probably already happened by now. Saying at a speech in North London, Rishi Sunak sets out 5 long-term promises for the future, even though he's only got like just over a year until a guaranteed general election. But okay, buddy. Reducing debt, that's not going to happen because the deficit's gone up, I think, dramatically. So he's not going to reduce debt. Cutting tax, they're increasing tax, so they're not cutting taxes. Securing energy, they're not doing that because the only way to secure energy is to produce more energy yourself, and that way you are more kind of protected from price shocks. So they are not securing energy. All they're doing is making people pay more for energy, because despite the fact that the wholesale gas price is coming down, Ofcom have increased the cap for energy by 5%, or are going to do it in January. So he's not done that. Backing British businesses, I mean, he's not done that at all, apart from his wife's businesses, let's be honest. But some of those aren't in Britain. World-class education. Teachers are cooked. Let's be honest now. The system is so broken. Forget the RAAC, that concrete nonsense, right, that they use to reinforce roofs, and the fact that schools are caving in. We're seeing more and more kind of teachers leave because the workload is too much and the pay is too little. They're not valued in this country. Teachers get all sorts of stick from parents, but the government doesn't value them. Let's be honest now. School budgets, despite the fact that teachers did get a pay increase, that wasn't new money being allocated to them. That was existing money from the school budget that had to be allocated to salaries instead of other things the schools need. The government, because they increased salary, should have given that from new government funds, not existing funds. So world-class education, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. This whole lot of them, nonsense. And as Zoe Gardner points out, LMFAO, last lot of pledges not looking too good. And when we look at the last lot of pledges, halving inflation, which technically they have done by doing nothing. It's kind of like, I don't know, me saying I'm going to wake up in the morning and I wake up and take it as a victory lap. They've technically done that, I think, because the rate of inflation has gone down. So technical win. Growing the economy, haven't done that. It's not going to grow until 2025, so that's an L. Debt falling, reducing national debt, haven't done that. L. Cutting waiting lists, they failed that at the start of the year, I think in April, that's an L. Small boats, they have technically passed laws to stop small boats, but they haven't managed to actually stop the small boats crossing the channel, so that's a loss. So he's got 1 out of 5, and he got 1 based on a technicality. So again, not great. We are going to be discussing more stuff around the budget in upcoming videos, so just subscribe for that if you're watching still. Wasted £100 billion. £100 billion of taxpayers' money wasted. Imagine that money actually went to good causes. It went to education, healthcare, public services, the things we actually need as a country. £100 billion. God damn. Just completely crazy. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.